Newbies! Here's Dungeons of Eternity broken down in just a few minutes. If you come over here in Outpost, walk straight through here to the comms tower. At the very top is where you're going to find your promotions to Prestige. Whenever you Prestige, it's going to cost 50,000 coins. You're going to be reset back to level 1. Don't worry, you get to keep all of your stuff, as well as continuing to get the Tier 7 rewards out of chests, and you get a mythic weapon. Once you've been through the dialogue, then you're able to select any weapon that you would like from the mythics. If you don't know what they do, it'll show you a small little animation of what each of the abilities do for each of the weapons. While you are selecting your weapons, please, for the love of God, pay attention to what you are putting on your weapon. The best way to choose the perks that you put on your weapon is to figure out what you want to be in this game by looking at your exosuit. Now, after you've kind of figured out what kind of class you want to choose, that's when you pick all your perks and put them on the exosuit. For me personally, I have criticals on my arms, which means I am going to be a DPS class, which means I'm going to do damage per second the most possible. So for me, I would go with a spear, I would put explosions, and I would put criticals. Exosuit. So here you can come to your room. The left of your bookcase is where you'll find your exosuit, and these exo points you can get from doing these exo runs, which are the little blue options. Soul runs are these little green options, which are souls, so that you can craft potions, and then everything else is the dungeons aside from the sandbox arena. Now, after you've gotten quite a bit of exo points, the first thing you kind of want to get is a perk called Vitality. This will recover health every 3.33 seconds at level 5. Now, remember that the levels will cause you to gain more at less time the more that it's leveled up. You have mind perks, chest perks, arm perks, and leg perks. Majority of the time, you want to combine the perks that you have on your exosuit with the perks that you have on your weapons, because doing this allows you to fight or be a teammate at the best of your potential. If you're combining a bunch of different shit together, you're going to end up not being that useful. For me, on arms perk, I have, like I said earlier, criticals. At level 5, it adds a 40% chance to increase melee damage by 200%. I combine that with my criticals on my spear. That is what is allowing me to do around 320 damage, because if you know how to do math, 200% is going to be 163 times 2. Now, whenever I have a quad damage potion, quad damage, quad 4 times, 320 times 4. Those things are the most important things that you must know as a new player in Dungeons of Eternity. The next most important things are how to get so much XP. There's a common misconception that doing these absolutely difficult hazards is going to get you so much XP, when in reality, it really doesn't get you that much. You gotta think of it this way: how much time are you spending in the dungeon compared to how much XP you're getting? For me, I have a saved map over here called Eerie Chambers. It's very popular. I like to run it on tier 7. If you have 4 people tier 7, there can be a maximum of 400 enemies to spawn, and there's a maximum of, I've seen, about 16,000 XP to get. There are no hazards. It's a big dungeon. Pretty much any big dungeon like this that you find will give a lot of XP. Now, for the exo runs, you always want to almost do it on tier 1, because there's absolutely no point in doing it on any other tier. It makes it more difficult for you and your team, and you don't really do exo runs for XP. You're doing it for the exo points. For souls, it's going to be the same thing. Put it on tier 1. There's no other point in doing a higher tier when you are just there for souls. Your fabricator. This is where you can fabricate potions, you can fabricate your gear, and you get to actually see what the perks do. This is a great place to start understanding what each of these perks are doing. That way you can figure out what kind of class you want to run. There's a lot of people that decide to say that a perk does something that it doesn't do, and that is because they do not come over here and read all of this. For the fabricating potions part, you have to have a specific amount of souls to craft each potion. Of course, mine doesn't really show, it just shows how many total souls I've gotten, and that's because I already have enough to craft all of them. I strongly suggest getting enough souls just to craft up to a quad damage potion if you're a DPS. Invisibility, it isn't really that useful. You can get it out of chests, or you can always have somebody like me craft it for you. You're fabricating gear. Ignore that I have 127 pages. I completely just don't pay attention to any of this. But this is where you're able to craft each or fabricate gear. Not only can you fabricate gear, but this little trash can icon, whenever you click on a weapon, you are able to salvage it and get money from it. Now, the cost is going to be a lot more than what you get for salvaging, but it is always good to go through and salvage the ones that you're not going to need. Like throw distance and criticals on a legendary shiv, usually that's pretty good. You'd want to keep that. But critter damage and poison, the poison is nice, but the critter damage is almost useless because the critters are always low HP, so you would want to salvage that. And that is how you will start getting a lot more gold. I cannot stress this enough. I see a lot of new players having an empty shelf. They always go in and out of games, and they never fill their shelf up with the potions that they're getting. Now, these will always stay here, no matter what server you join, no matter what day you join the server. These will always be here, so you can come and grab them for a mission instead of having to fabricate every single time. Another cool tip, there's a lot of people that have been curious about the victory moves and stuff. You go here to your flare, and then you go to victory move. Now, all of these cosmetics, victory moves, just any kind of thing for your avatar, you can get out of chests. Obviously, the skin that I'm wearing, you can't exactly get it out of a chest. Instead, you have to purchase it. Unlike other games like Fortnite that value skins at about $20 fucking dollars for no reason, this skin, along with all of the cool combinations, how you can make it glowing, only costs $5.34 USD after taxes. Right here in front of the comms tower, if you come down here, you will see the vendors. Over here at the merchant, this is where you can buy some cosmetics, some power gems, potions, bones, stuff like that. Or wolf treats, I guess you would call it. Then you come over here to the armorer, and this merchant will update items every hour. This is where, if at a low level, you can start to get a legendary, which it doesn't really matter too much. If you're a low level, you don't really want to focus on your perks yet. You don't really want to focus on getting better weapons. You want to focus on the damage that you're doing, because that's the most important part. Now remember that the damage is going to be different for everybody. How this sword is 124 damage for me, I'm past the level 50. At level 50, that's when the damage gets maximized for the armorer. If you're a low level, the damage will go down. Same thing with crossbows. If this crossbow had 8 shot, for a lower level it might seem it's 6 shot. Always be checking this. If you see something that has pretty good stats for something you want, like vampire, that would be really useful. But always remember that the rarity doesn't always matter. It just matters about the damage at a low level. Once you get to a higher level, the damage doesn't matter as much unless you're like me, a DPS character. It just matters your combination of exosuit perks and the perks that you have on your weapons. That's a pretty fast rundown of how this game works as a whole. Please remember to save dungeons that you find, like eerie chambers. To save a dungeon, you play the dungeon. After you're done playing it, you come over here and it'll give you an option to save dungeon. You don't always have to play the dungeon. You could just go into it and then it'll say return to outpost. After you return, it'll give you an option to save it. Alright, I'm going to show you guys how to complete an exo run because it's not really that well explained and a lot of people do it wrong. Once you spawn in, remember what these look like. Whenever it's highlighted, it's activated. There will be more in here. Each of those triangles will light up whenever it starts. But first, you need to go to each of the 3 surrounding rooms to get the exo crystals and put them in the middle. In each of those rooms, this is what the pedestal will look like for the exo crystal. Once you have all 3 exo crystals put into place, then you're able to start it. After you start it, if you're playing with a team of people, you want 3 people focusing on killing the guardians. The guardians are the only ones who can damage the pyramid. You want 1 person, usually the fastest person, to focus on stepping on one of these at a time. Those are what the guardians look like. You will see them looking like wizards and attacking the pyramid. The reason that the person only wants to step on one at a time is because if you step on multiple, then there will be no more that spawn. It is not spawned based on how many you step on. There is a time limit for the spawn rate of these triangles. So if there are some people who don't exactly comprehend what I'm saying, basically, if you step on all the triangles, you're gonna run out of triangles to step on, in turn making you fail the mission. The person who is stepping on the triangles, usually you want to wait until the bar is about that small, and then you can step on it again. This will cause your team to be in a constant state of this ability to kill the guardians. Remember that once it deactivates, the guardians turn red. They can no longer be attacked while they're red. You'll continue doing this until all 3 of the exo crystals are drained. After all 3 of the exo crystals has been drained, that's when you can go back to where you came from and go ahead and leave the dungeon. Since there's only 3 exo crystals that spawn per exo run, you can only get a maximum of 3 crystals per run. But if they destroy the tower, then you won't get that many. Next, I'm going to show you how to do the soul runs. So these are the soul runs. You'll see the necromancer with that wand. You'll go ahead and hold A to start right here. He'll talk utter gibberish to you because why not? That's when he will drop his staff. Now, each of these enemies that spawn, you will zap them, which causes them to have this almost poison-looking effect. This isn't actually poison. It'll just make it to where once they die, they will drop a soul. If I can fucking kill one of them. And these souls are what you will collect. Back over here where you started, it will say how many souls you will be needing to collect. Now, common misconception with how to do soul runs to the maximum of its ability is that after you kill them, you pick them up. You do not want to do this. You want to make sure you're activating every enemy you see. After you kill them, leave the souls. Notice how we have 1 out of 9. 8. 9. We have all the souls we need to end the round, but instead of collecting them, which forces the round to end, we can keep the round going by not collecting them. Now, what this does is maximizes the amount of souls you're able to get per round. After you've killed them all, it'll say round finished, and that's when you know you were able to collect all of these. Again, pay attention to the number right here. 4 out of 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it will stop at 9. However, you can still keep collecting them. It will not count right here, but it will count at the end of the game. That's when you will notice that you are starting to maximize your amount of souls that you're getting per round. Now, as you can see, there will be a little fire lit right here after every round. 2, 3, there's only 3 rounds that you can do. At the end of each round, a key will spawn. Also, at the end of each round, you will notice that a door will open. Now you can go in this door, usually there's just a couple of enemies and a chest. However, I don't really need it and I do not really care. But that is how you do the soul runs. You can do it the original way and just collect until you don't need any more. But if you want to maximize your soul amount per round, in other words, maximizing your soul amount per game, I suggest that you don't collect them until the round ends. And that is the entirety of Dungeons of Eternity in a nutshell for a new player to understand. Now, there's still a lot more to this game to know, but that's for you to find out in the dungeons. That is pretty much the game in its entirety. If you struggle to understand anything or you have any questions, please feel free to comment. I will answer every single comment.